Hello folks, I've been busy in the last few days, haven't posted any videos, but I've actually started doing some covering using dress lining. Every time I post a video about that, there seems to be a massive spike in interest simply because it's a very cheap alternative, I think anyway, to commercial covering. I have it here, if I switch you round, just wait a sec. You can see here that I've started covering the Fokker D7 tail surface. I've just give it one coat of dope. The trick, and I've done a bit of covering with this material now. I think this is the third or fourth aircraft I've covered, and fairly large aircraft at that, so there's a lot of material to use. The trick is to get it as tight as you can before you actually shrink it. It doesn't shrink quite as much as Oratex or Solatex does, so you need to get it tight and you need to work it. And if I show you what I've done with this has had one coat of dope and it's very close to being airtight. The second 50-50 coating of dope will do the job. Somebody did comment and said you can use latex, thin down latex paint, basically household paint, and or polyurethane. Well, I haven't done that, and the reason I haven't done it is I've got plenty of dope around at the moment, and until it's used up, and because it works, I'm going to stick with it. So it's a conventional approach to covering, other than you put the glue where you want it to go. So obviously these pieces of wood in the centre of this rudder don't need to be glued, so it's just around the edges. And then once I've got both surfaces done, I seal around the edges with full strength dope, let that dry, and then I apply some heat to iron down. And what that does is it smooths it all out and takes out the little high points. Works rather well. So that's one coat, and as I say, it'll probably need a second coat thinned down to make it fully airtight. Very effective. This will probably be painted in household paint, because I think I've decided on what I'm going to do in terms of the colour scheme. And what I'm going to attempt to do today, because I'm waiting for a part for this Tony Ray build, I'm waiting for the engine mount to arrive, and disappointingly it's caught up in the Royal Mail service, which is pretty appalling at the moment, I think. So I don't know if it's even ever going to arrive. So until I get that, I can't push on with what I want, other than for this aircraft as well, I'm going to use a closed loop system for the control surfaces. So the main focus of this video is actually going to be on setting those up and designing a mechanism for both the elevator and the rudder. And the reason I needed to get this covered is I wanted to make sure I knew exactly where the horns were going to line up so that I could do that. So the focus is bit of paper, sketch some ideas out, see if I can cobble something together. And if it works, well, even if it doesn't work, I'll show you the journey. And we'll basically adopt the same system for both aircraft. If it works on one, it should work on the other. So let's get stuck in. So this is the concept I have for both of the models. The elevator control will be via a servo to a crank, which will be made from printed circuit board, double-sided. That in turn will be soldered to a brass tube, with another brass tube sliding inside it, and the two levers for the control horns on the elevator will also be soldered to the same tubing. And then I'll make a couple of bearers for that to sit in, and they'll be screwed down to wooden blocks which are epoxied into the inside of the fuselage. That way, if this mechanism ever has to come out, it can be unscrewed here and be lifted out. And in the case of the Tiger Moth, it'll be just either side of the seat, and the servo will be mounted underneath. So these are going to need to be removable. I'm probably going to use magnets to do that. The control horns that operate the rudder are a bit more straightforward. That'll be simply a servo mounted on a plate, and the existing plate for the servo that's in the Tiger Moth, for example, will mount a couple of these arms which then control the rudder, and that'll go in basically here, because the photographs I've seen, it's directly under the trainee cockpit, and once again I'll need access to that, so the front seat will need to be removable as well. So that's the plan. Let's crack on and do it. This is what I've come up with to control the elevator. It's going to be 2 tubes. I've cut out some double-sided copper-plated, I forget what it's called now, circuit boarding, and there's the tiller arm. That's it, drilled out accurately but not shaped yet, and the same for the actual levers, cranks themselves. The reason I'm leaving them like this, it'll make it easier to solder up and keep it square. So the first thing is to get this in the center of this tube. I'll set that up, measure it accurately, and hit it with some solder. I've got the small iron on at the moment. If it's not up to the job, I'll have to put a bigger one on, but I'll solder that on first, and then I'll show you when it's all jigged up. The tiller arm's now been soldered. I'm putting it at 90 degrees to the actual levers. Well, look, Missy. Wait a minute. Do you want some food? I'll solder this up, feed Missy, and then I'll do the other side. I've gone for the bigger iron, so I need to just be in and out. Because what I don't want to do is burn the copper plate off the printed circuit board. So that's soldered. I'll go around, it's just got a tack on it. I'll do the other side. Missy will have to wait a moment. And then what I'll do is I'll create a fillet around here. Of course, we want it to be strong. And that'll hold it. Feed the cat, come back and tidy this up. It's rather awkward to show you what's going on here, but I hope you can see it. It's not glued in, but that's basically the setup for the elevator control. I think it'll work quite well. A servo will probably be mounted here. The rudder servo will be mounted in the front for the tiller arms that come out the side. But I think that's going to do the job nicely. As you can see, well, actually, I can take it out now to illustrate it. It's probably the best way. There we go. Well, I hope you can see it there now. I've dropped the other part, so these flat pieces will be mounted inside the fuselage. There's the tiller arm, and it's just been soldered up. It's tube in tube. I think it's quite a neat solution, because I really do think that the scale cabling that runs to the control surfaces is such an iconic thing to me. It's something I notice. Perhaps it's because when I look at kites, particularly the Japanese kites, I'm intrigued by the rope work and on them as much as the kites themselves. So I just like the idea of seeing running control wires coming out the side. So there we go, that's that part done. The tiller arm for the rudder is rather more straightforward. I'll crack on with that now. Right then folks, I'm calling this video done now. I've done all I wanted to do. The control horns for the rudder have now been completed. I've turned the little bosses that they swivel on in the lathe, not a major job. They'll have to come out to be painted up, so I may put a little plywood plate on here to screw them into, as well as the plywood of the sides. Although I think it's a very hard wood. It's not balsa, this bottom piece, I don't think. You don't need to go to this length of trouble if you wish to build the model as per the kit. Tony Ray's method of wire and tube is perfectly up to the job. In fact, it's a lot easier route. But as I said before, I think the cabling running on the outside is such an important look to the model that I wanted to incorporate it. Servos will be mounted in here. I haven't obviously made the servo plates up yet. I'm waiting for some servos to be delivered. And I will need access to them, so the seats will come out. They'll be mounted on magnets. I'm a great believer in having accessibility at all times. I had a mid-air collision with a Micro Ace indoor model at the weekend. Really annoying. It wasn't the fault of the person that I hit or my fault. It was just one of those things. But I'd had enough of the model, because to get to the servo stroke RC receiver block, I would have had to strip the engine out and just generally strip the model right down, and I just didn't have the heart to do it, so I passed it on to a friend who was more into his indoor flying. So the seats will come out, the seats will be mounted with magnets, and that'll mean that I can get to them if I need to. But there you go, you can see the mechanisms. Nothing's glued in yet because it all needs to be painted up, and the plates that go on the outside will have to be fabricated before it gets covered. So I hope you've enjoyed that enough to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already done so, why not subscribe and click on the playlist and see what's come before and maybe some of the other projects I've been working on. Thanks for looking in. Take care, everybody. If you can't get flying, let's get creative.